Should Georgia fans be mad at Pat McAfee? Should they be upset with what he did on Saturday? If you're not familiar, Pat McAfee is on ESPN's College Gameday. He pretty much took David Pollock's place essentially on that squad, on that lineup for the biggest pregame show in college football on Saturday. I'm sure a lot of you wake up to that. And on this Saturday, College Gameday was in Atlanta for the SEC championship game. It's over, and I'm blanking on the name of it, but in some sort of convention center right there across the way from Mercedes-Benz Stadium. McAfee is in there. They're getting ready to do their picks. The Alabama-Georgia game comes up, and as McAfee has done at some of these college game days that he's been a part of with Georgia, he calls the Dogs. What's that coming down the track? He calls the Dogs and gets the crowd into it. This time on Saturday, for the SEC championship game, he calls the Dogs, turns around, picks Alabama to win the game. So should Georgia fans be upset about this? Because I'm seeing it all over about how they're dogging on Pat McAfee for this. I think a lot of Georgia fans in general have not necessarily been super happy with Pat McAfee, just because of the fact that he, stepped up into David Pollock's position, essentially, as far as the College Game Day part of it goes. And they obviously were trying to weave him into the mix last season as well. If you remember him jumping out into rivers and stuff like that, he's ripping his shirt off, he's wearing the tank top. And, he does this. So should Georgia fans be mad? And here's why I'm going to say, don't waste your time being mad about something like this, guys. I understand that there's, and I'll give you the real reason why. I'll give you the real reason why in a second. But I understand why people are upset with him. And, I get people being upset with the fact that David Pollock's not around. But let's dive into that a little bit. Ryan Curley from Dawg Post here, talking about ESPN's College Game Day and Pat McAfee, what he did on Saturday. Link is down below for our newsletter. That's what I'm directing you to. Make sure you're signing up for our newsletter. Not everything can be said on here. The site, we've got all sorts of other stuff going on over there at dogpost.com, so make sure you're checking that out. The link is down below for that. It's free, and you get all those stories in your inbox every single day. ESPN. What does ESPN stand for? What does the E stand for in ESPN? Entertainment. And if you feel as if I'm talking directly to you and you don't like Pat McAfee, the problem is he's entertaining to a lot of people, and that's why he's got the position he's got. That's why his show has become really big. That's why they put him on screen so much. That's why they work him a lot, and they give him big money to do it. It's because people, and I'm not going to sit here and lie to you and say that I sit around and watch the Pat McAfee show, or that I think he's the best choice to be on College Game Day or anything like that. I think he's okay, and for that, I don't have a personal vendetta against McAfee, but it seems that people find him very entertaining, and they wouldn't give him all that money if that's the case. And what I'm getting to my point with that is he plays into the crowd a lot, and he does. It seems almost every week, if not every week, it seems that he plays into the crowd at these different campuses where College Game Day goes each week. And I get it, and I think one, the crowd being involved is good for the show, right? Two, it gets him more liked. Oh, McAfee called the Dogs, it was awesome, or whatever it is that he did with a fan base, right? It's generating interest and generating positive thoughts towards him. And as an entertainer, he needs to play to crowds a little bit. And so he does that. And that's kind of his role on this thing, right? They didn't just put McAfee on there to be boring. They put him on there to do stuff like that because obviously that's driving the clicks to do it. Okay, so let's transfer over to and so if he thought Alabama was going to win the game, it seemed that he was going to do that no matter what he wanted to do with the Georgia crowd. So I get people being mad about that. So then let's move on to the David Pollock portion of this. He's obviously was a part of recent ESPN layoffs. Do you want to go through history, right, of ESPN laying off people who have done a good job, who a lot of people value their analysis and their opinion about the game? Personally, for me, and it's the case for others, I like best possible blend of an entertaining show and a very informative one. Because at the end of the day, I want to talk ball, man. I want to talk about what's happening on the field, not all this extra crap, right? I want to know the X's and O's and all that. I want to know why they did this when, for analysis sometimes, right? Sometimes I want the entertainment. So I like that blend, and they feel that they have that blend on that panel between Desmond Howard and Pat McAfee and Kirk Herbstreit, right? So they feel like they found that blend, it seems like. With David Pollock, he wasn't that entertaining person, and I wasn't in their meetings. I wasn't in his exit meeting. I don't know what they said to him for the reason why he was fired. I hate that I'm even speculating on this, but they probably just deemed him expendable. That his whatever his salary was, and I'm sure it's not as much as they're paying McAfee, because he just does more for the network than David Pollock did, and that's a fact. It just happened that one of David Pollock's positions is now taken by McAfee. The thing about David is they let him go. They let him go, and that's not Pat McAfee's fault. Maybe a tiny part of it has to do with that, but that's not McAfee's fault. And for the huge David Pollock defenders, and I liked David Pollock on there. I liked David Pollock. I'm saying this first. I liked David Pollock on Gameday. I like listening to him talk about football. I've spoken with David a handful of times. Not all experts are necessarily either right about things or are not guilty of entertainment, because David Pollock also doesn't think Georgia and Alabama should be in the playoff this year. And to me, that is ridiculous. The fact that both of them aren't in the playoff to me is wrong, but the fact that not thinking either of those teams should be in the college football playoff is stunning to me, especially from a person that understands the league, understands the SEC and understands the difference in playing in and out of it, and knowing what he knows about both of those programs. It's a little astonishing to me he would say that. And so that's just a side point, is that all these experts are going on and they want to create entertainment. And another thing about experts is they don't want to be wrong about things, right? What we do, what Dean, Matt, and myself do on here, and what we do for you guys, is what they do at a much smaller scale. I probably approach it differently. We probably have a completely different approach. It is what I am trying to do for you guys is I want you to be informed and entertained by my commentary. That's why I got into this. I hope that when you guys are clicking on my videos, it's because, one, you just enjoy it and you enjoy what I have to say, and two, I hope that I am, giving you something new. I hope you are learning something new about this when you're on here. So for me, that is my goal as far as what I want to give to the viewer. And maybe that's different for everybody. But yeah, I mean, dude, experts go on there all the time, and the reason why they have their jobs at that level is because they're entertainers. Stephen A. Smith says ridiculous stuff all the time. It's because he's a big entertainer and he generates a lot of revenue for the company, is part of why he has a position he has. I'm not saying that's the only reason why he has the position he has, but that's just an example. There are plenty of people throughout time who have either rubbed someone the wrong way or gotten a position that people just don't like it. So should Georgia fans be mad at Pat McAfee? The answer to me is no. I get what he did was probably pretty annoying, especially if you were there. If you were there and you were in the crowd and you called the Dogs with Pat McAfee, I'm sure that you were pretty annoyed and maybe even a little shocked when he turned around and picked Alabama to win. But look, these experts, man, they want to entertain. Remember last year when they all picked Tennessee to beat Georgia? I mean, come on, guys. Sometimes, look, and you know this if you follow our Dawg Post Picks story that we put out before the weekend. Games come along, and obviously, terrible year for myself. I think I finished just at 500, so it was against the spread, terrible year for myself. But man, sometimes things are extremely obvious, and I think that people really are just saying things for clicks on that screen. So that's my take. I wanted to have this conversation with you guys, a little bit different than a normal football conversation, but I hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for watching, and the link is down below for the newsletter.